Lesson 57. Today, let us review these ideas. 1. I am not the victim of the world I see. How can I be the victim of a world that can be completely undone if I so choose? My chains are loosened. I can drop them off merely by desiring to do so. The prison door is open. I can leave simply by walking out. Nothing holds me in this world. Only my wish to stay keeps me a prisoner. I would give up my insane wishes and walk into the sunlight at last. 2. I have invented the world I see. I made up the prison in which I see myself. All I need do is recognize this and I am free. I have deluded myself into believing it is possible to imprison the Son of God. I was bitterly mistaken in this belief, which I no longer want. The Son of God must be forever free. He is as God created him, and not what I would make of him. He is where God would have him be, and not where I thought to hold him prisoner. 3. There is another way of looking at the world. Since the purpose of the world is not the one I ascribed to it, there must be another way of looking at it. I see everything upside down, and my thoughts are the opposite of truth. I see the world as a prison for God's Son. It must be, then, that the world is really a place where he can be set free. I would look upon the world as it is, and see it as a place where the Son of God finds his freedom. 4. I could see peace instead of this. When I see the world as a place of freedom, I realize that it reflects the laws of God instead of the rules I made up for it to obey. I will understand that peace, not war, abides in it, and I will perceive that peace also abides in the hearts of all who share this place with me. 5. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. As I share the peace of the world with my brothers, I begin to understand that this peace comes from deep within myself. The world I look upon has taken on the light of my forgiveness and shines forgiveness back at me. In this light, I begin to see what my illusions about myself kept hidden. I begin to understand the holiness of all living things, including myself, and their oneness with me. I am not the victim of the world I see. I have invented the world I see. There is another way of looking at the world. I could see peace instead of this. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. There is another way of looking at the world. There is another way of perceiving, seeing the world. When we choose to release our victimhood, as this first section says, I'm not the victim of the world I see. When we understand what's really going on here, the nature of the world that we made it up, when we understand that idea of separation that we had, that we as creative children of God with the power of thought and creation ourselves, we're that powerful and that holy that we made up a world where we could experience separation. We've talked about how perception is the way you see things, how you intuit things, and that it is a product of that idea of separation. In ultimate reality, before we had that idea, and even outside of this world, it's just knowledge. It's just truth. There is no perception because our mind can't be split. But here we are, and we have a split mind, which means we have perception. We can either misperceive or perceive truly. And true perception leads us back to knowledge and understanding. So the miracle-minded want to try to align our minds with love, with God, with the Holy Spirit, with true perception, to see things differently than the world of illusion, the world of fear, the world of lovelessness would show to us. And that is how we get back on track. I really like these review sections because they put together the principles that have this underlying theme and concept and idea behind them in a way that we weren't used to as we were going through the curriculum, one lesson at a time. So now we have 5 at a time that have this connectivity, this underlying concept of the nature of the world, how we made it up. We're not meant to be at the effect of the world we see, that we made it up. Our mind is part of God's. We have the holiness, the power, the creative power of God. Therefore, we can change how we see and how we think about the world. And our experience, we can see peace instead of this. This really has everything in it. That it starts with our own inner peace and extends out to everyone in the world, abides in the hearts of all who share it. Practically, this helps us to release the grievance, the lovelessness, the fear, the judgment that we are not only binding others to, but also ourselves. We're imprisoning ourselves. That first section talks about the prison door is open and I can leave simply by walking out, because it's a prison of our own making, how we're perceiving. We're misperceiving. But we can see things differently, and there's another way of looking at the world, and then there's another way of being in the world as well. And these lessons are a great summary and review and practice to watch how you are perceiving the world today and how you're moving through the world today. Remember your creative power, miracle workers.